I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Silly Jedi, silly Jedi.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Hello, what have we here?
Hello there.
At last! Where have you been?
Nice of you guys to drop by.
Ah, good. New acquisitions.
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Car Talk. I'm Maurice from Jedi Toy Masters on Instagram and on YouTube, right here on YouTube if you're watching. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe here at Jedi Toy Masters on YouTube. Check out some of our other videos. And if you're listening to us, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And wow, what a great week we've had. If you're a Star Wars fan, and I imagine you are, because otherwise, why would you be listening to a Star Wars podcast called Star Wars Car Talk if you're not a fan of Star Wars? So I can just only assume that you've had a very exciting week. Of course, you know, I don't want to say that if you didn't enjoy the Star Wars that we got this past week, it doesn't mean you're not a fan. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there. You know, Star Wars fans come in all sorts. You know, it's like walking into the cantina and looking at the cantina full of all kinds of creatures from around the galaxy, and they're all in Star Wars. And that's how we are as fans. We are all different, and we all have our likes and dislikes. And some of us, you know, hey, I'm not a big fan of the sequel trilogy. Some people love it. That's fine. Some people are not a big fan of Star Wars in animation, and that's fine. I am. So speaking of animation, though, we got what a treat we got last week for May the 4th. That's right, May the 4th be with you. It's a little belated, and we didn't have an episode last week, and that's because, well, to be quite honest, I wasn't able to get in the car to record. We were so busy with a lot of moving, so we're moving, in the process of moving, and because of that, last week was kind of a non-podcast week, and I do apologize for that. But we're back. We're back full force, and it was actually good to take that week off, aside from the fact that we were like super busy with, you know, moving and all that stuff, and we still are. But it was May the 4th, and we got the first episode of The Bad Batch. That's right, The Bad Batch. It was amazing, and you know, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Bad Batch and you intend on watching it, please make sure you just pause right now, because I'm going to talk about Bad Batch. And I'm sure I'm not the only podcast that has already broken down every single minute by minute, scene by scene of the Bad Batch. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to give you my overall opinion of it, and maybe a little bit, little fan theories from me here in the car, Jedi Toy Master car. But what a treat it was, because it was like 70 minutes long. So it was like watching a little mini movie, and that was a treat. And then, so that was Tuesday, and then later on the week we got another episode of The Bad Batch. So the first episode was, I believe, called Aftermath, yeah. And the second episode was called Cut and Run. And it's a little play on words, because the character of Cut, who was a former clone who deserted and went and started a family somewhere off in the universe, he makes an appearance in episode 2 of The Bad Batch. But man, what a treat it was. And before we get into it, I just want to make a quick, brief little plug for May the 4th. Not that we need a plug for May the 4th, but just there were some releases on May the 4th. There were figure releases, Black Series figure releases, and announcements for the Vintage Collection as well. it was a little lackluster, to be quite honest. I wasn't really, I wasn't super impressed. Although I think like it's taken me a few days after May the 4th to kind of like go and scour the Walmart website and the Target website and GameStop and kind of see what is what, and also on the Hasbro Pulse website, you know, they have, you know, I think to be quite honest, the only two figures, if I had to narrow it down to like two figures that really caught my eye, three actually, the three figures that caught my eye on May the 4th, and I'm not including Funko Pops because I'm not really into Funko Pops. I'm not including Lego, although the Bad Batch Lego set looks really cool. It brings their attack shuttle and the whole little set. I'm trying to like steer clear of Lego, but it does look cool. And not, you know, I'm not talking about like collectibles like the Sideshow collectibles or anything like that. I'm talking about pure like Hasbro action figures, 6-inch, 3 3/4. Like that's the bread and butter of Star Wars toys, and that's what I focus on. So the top three figures that caught my eye, everything else was kind of like okay, but these three really caught my eye, and I think they're really cool. Number one is from I believe it's Fallen Order. It's I think a GameStop exclusive, and it says it's like a flame trooper, like a flamethrower trooper or whatever. I'm gonna put it right here so you can see it if you're watching. But this essentially looks like somebody took a snow trooper and just swapped out the head and added a couple of like little accessories to it. And I'm totally cool with that because it kind of looks like the concept art snow trooper. And so I think I'm definitely going to be picking that guy up. I'm kind of kicking myself because that I got rid of my Black Series snow trooper, because I really like anything Empire, and I really like how in Empire we got the snow trooper and we got the AT-AT driver, which kind of looked like a TIE fighter pilot, but like in white and gray. And I'm kind of kicking myself because I had both those figures in Black Series and I got rid of them. So if you're listening, if you're watching, and you have even a loose one of the snow trooper, the 6-inch snow trooper, the 6-inch AT-AT driver, I really would love those, because I want to have like a little Empire Strikes Back little like display with some 6-inch figures, and I'm kind of more into like the Empire figures for some reason. Like I love Stormtrooper figures. I love anything that's like even like the Clone Troopers. I love Clone Troopers. I love the Mandalorians. I really like dig the idea of these like masked warriors, you know. So I'm not, you know, like I have a Luke figure that I'm planning on like getting a cape for, so that we can kind of recreate that end scene in The Mandalorian. But anyway, that figure looks really cool, and I think I am going to pre-order him over at GameStop. So that looks pretty cool. The next figure on my list of the top three that really caught my eye is from the Vintage Collection, and that is the Echo figure. This is Echo before we unfortunately like lost him for a little bit, and then he was rescued in season 7, and now we see him as part of the Bad Batch. He's half man. He's more machine than man now, but here he is, all man, and he's looking like Jango Fett, because he's a clone. And I think that's a really cool figure. I like that figure. Of course, it's like sold out everywhere, so you can't even pre-order him, but I'm gonna try to get him, and that's a really cool figure. That's like the one that caught my eye as far as 3 3/4 inch, and as far as May the 4th announcements and releases. And then the third on the list, and it's third on the list because it's probably of the three, it's the one that I'm least excited about, but it's still kind of cool because it has the promise that this character might be prominent in the Bad Batch, although we haven't seen him yet. And that is this like Imperial officer figure. I forgot his name. I'm gonna put him here so you can see him. And that figure looks kind of cool. Again, now I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy the Grand Moff Tarkin when I saw him at Walgreens a couple years ago. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not gonna pick that up. You know, I was trying to get away. I was trying to stay away from Black Series and from the oh my gosh, the wormhole that you can fall into once you start collecting Black Series. But I think it's really cool. I think that figure looks really cool. And I think that character is going to be pretty prominent. And who knows, that might be a character that maybe changes teams. Like maybe he defects from the Empire. You know, you never know. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that character. If they went and made a figure about him, I'm assuming it's because he might be an interesting character. Although I could be wrong. So those are the top 3. But now the Bad Batch, guys. The Bad Batch. Oh man. The highlights. Here's the highlights of the Bad Batch. That first episode, what I really enjoyed. Right off the bat, I really liked that adventure that they're on. They're on the mission. Well, even before that, I liked the fact that they introduced the show, basically showing the Clone Wars logo, and then it kind of burns and becomes the Bad Batch logo. That is a really great kind of like artistic way of showing us that this is a continuation of the Clone Wars, but it's not the Clone Wars anymore, because obviously the Clone Wars are over, and now it's life after the Clone Wars, life now that the Empire is beginning, and it's through the eyes of the Bad Batch, and I think that's interesting. I think that's a really cool thing, because I started listening to Blast Points podcast, which is another great Star Wars podcast, and I don't know if it was Jason or Gabe, but one of them mentioned that, you know, this is something that we've been like wanting to see, and that is like what happens to all these clone troopers after Order 66. And this is like exactly that. This is through the eyes of the Bad Batch, this team of, you know, like we don't know what's going to happen to them. We don't know if they're alive or dead during the original trilogy, even during Star Wars Rebels. Like we don't know. We know Rex will be around, but we don't know about these guys. So it's going to be really interesting. Right off the bat, though, they're on this mission, and the clones are fighting the droids, and here's the Bad Batch are brought in and kind of reintroduced to us by none other than Kanan from Star Wars Rebels, although here he's young Padawan Caleb. And oh man, that was so cool. A lot of people are kind of griping about how Freddie Prinze Jr. reprised the role with the voice, and it didn't sound like it was a kid, but I think it did. I think they definitely tweaked his voice a little bit, and he was doing something with his voice to make himself sound a little bit more youthful. And I think Freddie Prinze Jr. already has kind of like a youthful voice, so I think it worked. I totally think it worked. And it was really cool to see him and that whole kind of like to see the beginning of his story, because in Star Wars Rebels we find out that he doesn't like clones, and how he saw how they turned on him and on him and his master. So here we get to see it, and although it had been done in comics a little differently, this was still really cool to see in animated form, and kind of like bookend Kanan's story a little bit. I really enjoyed just the visuals, man. Just seeing a little bit more Clone Wars, and then leading into now life after the Clone Wars, going back to Kamino, seeing all the clones there, seeing how Tarkin now is involved, and how he's a big proponent of like transitioning away from clones. I think that's really interesting. All in all, I think the episode was really good. I like the drama that they set up. This is like a pilot episode. It was like a perfect pilot episode to set up the series. You set up the introduction of Omega, this female clone she's a clone just like any of them, but she's a female. So that's interesting. How they did that. How did they get her to become a female? Like that's an interesting concept to think about. Like yes, she's a clone of Jango, but like, did they incorporate anyone else's DNA in order to get her to become, in order to make her a female? Like that'll be interesting. She's like obsessed with the Bad Batch. She looks at them like brothers or father figures, and I think that's a really cool idea. I think it's kind of tugging at our heartstrings a little bit with how we saw like the Mandalorian and Grogu. I think it's kind of cool that we get to kind of go along for the ride through her eyes, and she's experiencing all these things kind of like how we're experiencing the story. I like the idea that Crosshair is now kind of like turned on them because his chip was kind of like ramped up to 10, and Order 66 is like, it's in there in his system, because of the way he's built. And it'll be interesting because that kind of sets up this whole idea, this whole arc where maybe it'll be like a redemption story for him when he kind of comes to his senses and realizes that he's being used. So that's really cool how they set that up. But just all in all, like, it was a very fun, fast-paced, action-packed episode that I think set up the story perfectly moving forward for the rest of this season. And I think there's going to be like 16 episodes, so I think that's really cool. Now, the second episode, Cut and Run, was a little bit slower. It was kind of like shows do this. They'll have like a big episode that moves the plot forward in a big way, and then they'll have like a filler episode that kind of moves the plot slower, and there's kind of like a little side adventure or a side mission. That's what this episode is, really. And The Mandalorian did it. I remember, I'm a big Superman fan, and I used to watch Smallville religiously. Smallville was notorious for this, where they had like major episodes that moved the plot forward, and then they had like these Freak of the Week episodes where it was like a side adventure or some kind of thing that the hero Clark had to deal with, and that's what this was. This was kind of like a filler episode, but I think it was still good. I mean, I think it was still interesting. They mentioned Rex in the episode, and I really enjoyed that Rex is out there. Who we don't know if him and Ahsoka kind of like went their separate ways in order to kind of protect each other, or if they're working together and and they're in hiding. Oh my gosh, it's just so exciting. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I've been moving and cleaning and painting for the last week, and I'm exhausted. But I definitely want to rewatch these episodes before the end of this week in preparation for the next episode. I think I've said episode enough in this episode. Anyway, but May the 4th was cool. It unfortunately wasn't like the good old days of May the 4th where, you can go to the stores, go to Toys R Us at midnight or whatever. There wasn't a lot out there. I'm surprised, like, I don't think even Amazon had anything really major for May the 4th. It's really becoming more of a thing where really the fans are the ones that are kind of taking over May the 4th in a way, because you look at all these third-party companies like Big Bad Toys and Skyward Fun Supply and Old Republic Collectibles and Entertainment Earth and all these other companies that are essentially doing what the big box stores and like what the Toys R Us's used to do, and that is provide stock of what's coming out, and they take pre-orders and they honor those pre-orders. So unfortunately, this is the world we live in now. The Sandra Bullock movie, The Net, was ahead of its time, because in that movie she basically lived at home and ordered everything online, and everybody thought that movie was crazy. But here we are. It's come true. The Net, Sandra Bullock, The Net, Google it. That is a little peek at the future from the past. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. And, what do you think about The Bad Batch? Are you excited? Are you going to continue watching? Let me know in the comments below. Hit me up on Instagram at Jedi Toy Masters, and make sure you write a little review on iTunes, on wherever, if you're listening to on the Apple podcasting app, or on the computer on iTunes or Apple Music. And please write a little review, and it helps the show become discovered by more people. And check out some of our videos here on YouTube at Jedi Toy Masters. But until next time, guys, Bad Batch is here, and we'll be busy watching. But remember,
the Force will be with you, always.